Are y'all ready to party with Jeremy, Chugs, and I? I hope the answer is yes. We're going to be live for every single day of NFL free agency, but starting today at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I know it's early. For a lot of y'all out there on the West Coast, 8 a.m. Wake the hell up, get a cup of coffee, get ready to rock and roll to make this team better. Join the Raiders Report live today at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and coming up here on today's show are the top 10 players that I am hoping Dave Ziegler, I am hoping Josh McDaniels do everything in their power to make sure that they end up rocking that shield this upcoming season. So this is the 10 players that I want to get the most. Right now, as it stands, as I am recording this video, the Raiders have $39.1 million in cap space, which is fourth most in the National Football League. The Silver and Black have 11 total draft picks, and when you talk about needs, the top need, whether you like to hear it or not, it is quarterback, but then also defensive tackle, corner, offensive guard, linebacker, and safety is how I would break down all the top Raiders needs heading into the offseason. But let's get one thing straight. You're not going to see a quarterback on this list for me. Why? The only quarterback that I'd want the Raiders to essentially get that's not in the 2023 NFL Draft is Lamar Jackson. The one player I do not want, and I'm telling you this right now, is Jimmy Garoppolo. I am going to be a very unhappy camper, which, Mom, Dad, y'all know I was never a camper growing up as a kid. I'm going to not be happy if the Raiders decide to give this man a contract because, to me, it's going to be expensive. Yeah, there's other options in Jacoby Brissett, but to me, the thing that just makes the most sense for this team, re-sign Jarrett Stidham. That way you can go out and build the team on defense and on offense. In the trenches, build the defense. Don't spend all the money at the quarterback position. So let's get in now to some of these players that I am hoping that the Raiders go out and target and ultimately sign. I should mention, you're not going to be able to sign every single one of the players on this list, and I'll explain why they made it. First, we're going to look here at the defensive tackle room. To me, the biggest need for this team on the defensive side of the football is bolstering that interior defensive line. Andrew Billings is a free agent. So that means all you got right now is Matthew Butler, Neil Farrell Jr. entering their sophomore season, and Bilal Nichols, who did play a little bit better down the stretch, but was quite underwhelming. So the number one player that's going to be probably on a lot of people's lists, it's Javon Hargrave. To me, the number one free agent on all Raider fans' lists should be Hargrave. That doesn't mean that you're going to get him. If the Raiders want to break the bank, and when I say break the bank, I'm saying if they want to spend $20 million on any single person in free agency, it's this guy. It's not 20 on a corner. It's not 20 on a safety, linebacker, edge. You want to spend $20 million per year, quarterback, it is on Javon Hargrave. If you want to go a little bit of a cheaper route, and this is kind of the route that I think this team's going to go with, because let's face it, they do have so many holes on the defensive side of the football. There's two options for me. The plan B would be Dalvin Tomlinson, which I think he comes in somewhere around $11, $12 million per year. Also has experience playing in Patrick Graham's system. Another player that this is a guy who I don't think gets quite as much as Tomlinson. He is probably going to be over $10 million per year. It's Zach Allen. He is a little bit undersized for what I usually like to see at defensive tackle. But the other thing that I really look at when I see players and who you want to potentially sign, young dude, under 26 years old, and every single season in Arizona has gotten better and better and better and better, coming off arguably his best season that he's ever had. On top of that, last year he had the opportunity to work with J.J. Watt. I talked to one of my good buddies in the NFL and said, Allen, he's going to be an up-and-coming player, and you're about to get him in his prime. So those are the three defensive tackles that I'm hoping the Raiders come away with at least one of them. Now, the pinned comment on today's show is going to be this. I want you to give me one player that you are hoping the Las Vegas Raiders sign today, tomorrow, somewhere in free agency. So when you're getting hit with that YouTube ad break, scrolling down and let me know. Let's now go to the cornerback position. I know there's a lot of Raider fans out there that want the silver and black to bring back Rock Ya-Sin, and if you can bring him back on a deal that's less than $6 million per year, I'm open to the idea because of the injuries that he has sustained throughout his career. You have Nate Hobbs, you have Amik Robertson. I know the Raiders are high on Bryce Cosby, Sam Webb. They also gave a one-year deal to Tyler Hall, but you got to be able to face the facts here. McDaniel kind of said it himself. You need to be able to get after the quarterback, but you also need to be able to cover wide receivers, and this does not inspire a lot of confidence in me. I'm sorry. So the number one cornerback, if you want to bring in, you want to spend big at the cornerback position, to me it's James Bradberry. Yeah, he's probably going to be somewhere around $11, $12 million, almost 30 years old. He has experience, though, in that Patrick Graham system, which I like. He's coming off a very impressive season with the Philadelphia Eagles. He was the player that I preached and said, this is a dude that you want to bring into this team. You put him next to Nate Hobbs. You go out and you also get a cornerback in the NFL draft. That is a really solid secondary, and I want Bradberry, again, who knows this defense, to be able to teach some of these younger guys what it takes to be successful in the Graham defense. Now, before I show you my next corner that I want the Raiders to go out and get, today's show is presented by Athletic Greens, and this week I know I'm going to be drinking a lot of AG1 because I know these shows that we're going to be doing are going to be wild. The Raiders Report is sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. You can see it at the bottom of the screen there. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted the immune system support and wanted a supplement that tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. AG1 really helps me with getting my day started, getting out of bed, especially with some free agency watch parties. It can be difficult. I'm a person who likes and needs a routine. AG1 helps me stick to my healthy routine. Wake up early, take my AG1, take Chuck for a walk, then hit the gym before work, sweating out all those toxins. Covering my nutritional basis for the day literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix one small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing each morning. Done. I also like it because it costs less than $3 per day. That's pretty freaking good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. It's a win-win, just win, baby. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So, nation, what the heck are you waiting for? Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Check it out. The link's going to be available for you guys in the comments and in the description of today's video. Let's go to the next player here on my list for Raiders free agent targets. It's Byron Murphy. And Byron Murphy 2 years ago was another player that I brought up on this show because he was a good slot corner and he offers versatility. One of the things that I know this Raiders defense wants and needs is versatility. I'm not sure if Patrick Graham, McDaniels are going to put Nate Hobbs back as an outside corner because as a sophomore, Hobbs struggled. As a rookie, he was one of the best slot corners in the NFL. But with that being said, Byron Murphy also has that ability to play inside and outside. And the more and more versatility you can get on defense, the more I do think it helps, especially with right now that safety position is a little bit of a question mark. Let's now go to the offensive line here because not only do you got to win in the trenches on the defensive line, you also got to win in the trenches on the offensive side as well. Colt Miller, he's going to be back. The Raiders, I do believe, are going to move on from Andre James. You're going to kick Dylan Parham in at center. I hope Alex Bars isn't back. You're going to need an offensive guard, and I do anticipate that they figure out a way to bring back Jermaine Eluemunor. So essentially, I'm sitting up here telling y'all both your left guard and your right guard positions are open. So who's the top offensive guard in this year's free agency class? I believe it's Isaac Seumalo, who's coming off a really impressive year this past season with Philadelphia. If the Raiders plan also, which I started the show off by saying, I think they're probably going to end up getting a rookie quarterback. Guess what helps a rookie quarterback? And, well, any quarterback. A great offensive line. So you want to clear those holes for Josh Jacobs. Do you want to have plenty of time for your QB to sit back there and analyze the defense? If your answer is yes, which it should be, Isaac is the dude, and he's probably going to be somewhere around $11, $12 million per year. If, let's say, you don't want to spend double digits on a guard, but you still want to get a solid player, I do like Nate Davis, and to me, Davis showed a lot last season, especially. We know he's the good run blocker, but he improved as a pass blocker. And on top of that, a lot of the times with free agency, coaches talk, GMs talk. The fact that you got Mike Vrabel, he's got the connections that he does with a lot of these coaches here at the Silver and Black. That could help out Nate Davis potentially joining this regime. We're going to go back now to the defensive side of the football. We're going to look at the linebackers with Denzel Perryman testing free agency. I do not blame him. I also do not think he returns. He's going to be too much money. Jayon Brown, he was terrible. So realistically, you got Divine Diablo, Luke Masterson, and Darian Butler as your starting 3 linebackers. That should not give you a lot of confidence. Yes, I have hopes that Luke Masterson and hopes that Butler can someday be at least decent depth, kind of maybe like what you got out of Nicholas Morrow in 4 years. They can be starters. They're not ready to be that right now. So the number 1 linebacker I want the Raiders to get is Drue Tranquill. I'm not saying he's the best linebacker in the class. In fact, he's not even in my top 5. But the reason why he's on my list is because he has experience in the AFC West. Also, I want a linebacker that can frickin' cover because I'm sick and tired of watching the Raiders linebackers get picked apart. That's where Tranquill comes in. I also am not a big believer in spending a lot of money at the linebacker position in a Patrick Graham defense, let alone just about any defense. So if I can find an LB for less than $7 million per year, I'm willing to spend big here on Tranquill. If you want to go a little bit cheaper at the linebacker position, another guy that I like is Kyzir White. 110 tackles last season for the Philadelphia Eagles, and another undersized linebacker that's got quickness, has that sideline-to-sideline ability. White's more of a weak side linebacker in my book, so again, I'm not trying to spend a lot of money at LB. But I do think that the Raiders obviously need some linebackers. And then, well, we got one more position here to look at, and it's safety. Duron Harmon, he's going to be testing the market. You got Javon Merrick, and then there's just not a lot of experience. I know the Raiders organization is high on Polamayo, who was a UDFA last season and from USC. And I know he's going to be a player that this team does rely upon. But to me, the number 1 safety that I personally would target that's not going to break the bank, don't get me wrong, Jordan Poyer, he's great. Jesse Bates, great. There's a lot of really talented safeties out there, but I think they're going to cost a lot of money. So what I try to do here is find a happy medium in terms of not super cheap, but also not super expensive, and that's Julian Love. Julian Love is another player that I believe when the Raiders were hopeful Jonathan Abram could play all over the football field, they were hoping that Jonathan Abram could play this Julian Love rule. That one of the best safeties that I've seen in a Patrick Graham system is Peppers. And Peppers, unfortunately, he's with New England. Can Julian Love, who's already played in Patrick Graham's system before, step up again and be that reliable safety that can do a lot of different things for this defense? So coming up here next on the show, we're going to look at some Raiders that I want this team to bring back. I know the video that I made on Thursday was around the Raiders bringing back Amir Abdullah. I was happy. I was excited about it. He was a player that I featured in my Players to Resign video. On top of that, though, when you bring back some of these guys, I don't think any of them are realistically going to break the bank. So those first 10 names, the top 10 dream scenario guys that I think fit in terms of overall team need and price tag. But then I got a few more that I want the Raiders to bring back. Remember, this week, very important. Twitter, Instagram, you got to be following me. There's going to be so much shit that's going to be going down. I am going to be live for basically all day, every day. But there's still so much info that I'm also going to be tweeting out. And then on locals as well, I'll find time to go live there, which hopefully y'all are ready, man. It's going to be a hell of a week. So here we go, some Raiders to re-sign. I got Jermaine Eluemunor, Andrew Billings, Mack Hollins, Jarrett Stidham, and Duron Harmon. Jermaine Eluemunor, he can play multiple positions, has that connection with Carmen Brasillo. Andrew Billings, would love to be able to bring him back. Not going to cost a lot of money, under $5 million. Mack Hollins, special teams ability, plus can be that wide receiver too, though I am curious to see what he gets coming off a career year. Jarrett Stidham, bring him back cheap, draft a QB. And then Duron Harmon, if you are unable to get any other safeties out there, That's where Harmon can kind of fill that void, and he's going to be less than $2 million. So those are my Raiders to re-sign, but the Raiders free agents that I really want this team to go out and target. I got at defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, Dalvin Tomlinson, Zach Allen. At the cornerback position, James Bradberry and Byron Murphy. Your offensive guard, Seumalo and Davis. Linebacker, Tranquill and White. And we're going to wrap this list up. Hopefully you like it, or hopefully you love it, with Julian Love.